Hello everyone, Treecks here, and welcome back to F0X. Oops. Pressed B on accident. Does not matter. But anyway, last time we actually found out there is an extra cup in this game. Emphasis on the extra. However, there's also a new difficulty, and therefore we are far from done in this game. First thing we are going to do today is actually making sure we're up to speed with the X Cup, and therefore clearing it on Standard and Expert. The last line of racers is also available, so we can actually pick everybody we want. There's still plenty of racers we have not seen yet, so that is also something we'll be doing today, covering 2 more racers. Starting off with the Sonic Phantom. It is depicted as the last machine in the game. However, if I need to be honest, it's not really the best machine in the game. I think the grip is a little bit too bad for that, and it's also not really that big of a slider machine. But we are going to race with the Skull, a very old racer. So old, in fact, that he had already died officially. But because of science, he was actually brought back from the dead. Pretty weird story, but that's basically his deal. And even in the afterlife, he is still racing. Oh, speaking of racing, allow me to actually point this out. The pit area being connected to the start actually give this away. But this X-Cup track is actually a half pipe. Because watch how this works. I did explain last time during Novice that the special tracks are also a possibility to get here in the X-Cup. And immediately our first track is already a strike. We get a half pipe track. But like I said, the regular pipes... Oh! Hell yeah! I was just trying to survive that sharp turn I saw coming. But if people start driving away, yeah. Then they will start flying. But anyway, let's try to get serious again. As you can see, half-pipe tracks are also a possibility to appear. But unlike the cylinder and pipe tracks, these are actually pretty much just like the regular tracks modeled in random shape without any overlapping. This is actually not the case in the pipe and cylinder tracks. Those are always circle shaped for some reason. Never really understood why, but we'll probably see more of that when one of those tracks actually wants to appear. So far, this is our 7th one. 7th X-Cup track. So the chances of a cylinder or pipe track appearing aren't really that great, in all honesty. It's no surprise that those are a little bit more rare than the real normal tracks. But I have no doubt we will actually see them. If half pipes already start appearing, and those are even more rare, those you actually don't really see a whole lot whenever playing X-Cup. But I have no doubt to see the other 2 as well. This one at least, even though it took a while. But I was able to pass everybody and win. Yeah, unfortunately, because of the way these half pipes are usually laid out, without any banks, it is usually pretty hard to actually abuse the double tap strategy here. You actually need banked curves for that. Something that is not present in an X-Cup half-pipe, as you might have noticed. There were no banks in the turns there. Probably due to safety reasons, but for some reason the turns are never banked. Anyway, we're continuing with a normal track now, it seems. Although the music is far from normal. It's also something I could quickly talk about. Whenever playing the regular game, the regular F0X without the expansion kit, the normal way you would play, then all of the tracks that actually get rendered in always have the standard music. So in this case, this being a Firefield track, normally the Sand Ocean music would play here, just like with Firefield in the regular game. And if a track is a Big Blue track, it's always the Big Blue music playing. But whenever you're playing with the expansion kit, and therefore also having the new music available, then that rule actually does not apply anymore. All of the music will also get randomized, but only in the expansion kit, because now one of the new music tracks is playing. But I also could have gotten the music for Port Town, for instance. Even that gets shuffled around. Always thought it was interesting. Whenever you play the normal X-Cup without the expansion kit, all of the music always acts normal. But whenever you play with the expansion kit, even the music gets randomized, something that normally does not happen. Also a quick little note I could talk about. Let's just make our way to the finish line. Seems easy enough. There we go. 1 minute 30. Yeah, I did already talk about this last time. X-Cup tracks usually aren't really that long. Sometimes there can be a little bit longer ones. Sometimes even really short ones. I can remember one track, which was a cylinder by the way. Because of the way that one was laid out, I was actually able to do that one in less than a minute. It actually stood by me because it was not too long ago, so that's also possible. Yeah, here we have an instance of it. It's clearly a big blue track, and yet the music is Red Canyon. Interesting. Only whenever the expansion kit is attached to the game, only then that will happen. So, enough about that. Now we know that's also a thing in the expansion kit. And in the normal game, it is not. Oh, how did I miss that booster? Slammed into the wall behind it. Oh, Mighty Gazelle's the second one. I was wondering who my second rubber band rival was. Biorex I did notice, but I did not notice the other one yet. Now, since I was not too far ahead of the pack before actually getting first place, my rubber band rivals actually still have a way to catch up with me. And therefore, before this track I was not able to see who the second one was. Mighty Gazelle apparently. And I can understand why. He has a similar story to the Skull after all. Also a racer from older times. The Skull being even older than Mighty Gazelle. But both of them actually got resurrected into a new racer. Mighty Gazelle in the form of a cyborg because of his big accident. Okay, that was really long loading time. Apparently this track was a little bit harder for the game to render in. I wonder if there's something in here that will actually make that show. Or that it was just a coincidence. Yeah, sometimes it could happen that it actually takes a bit longer. You rarely see that, but sometimes there's a clear, longer wait. Not that it matters a whole lot. Anyway, returning about the story about the rubber band rifles. I really think it's interesting how usually at least one, but sometimes even more than one, of the rubber band rifles is actually always connected story-wise to that racer. Sometimes they don't know each other, but they have a similar story, like with the Skull and Mighty Gazelle. And then they're also connected to each other. Biorex is not really that connected. He's also an ancient creature, you might say, but I think in his case it's just because the starting number of the machine is similar. The Big Fang, Biorex is 15, and the Sonic Phantom is 16, so... Whoa! I don't think I should be taking that turn with this speed. Looks like an easy turn, but yeah. Kind of forgot that there was no guide rails there. A rare sight on an X-Cup track, but definitely something that can happen. If you don't see it coming, especially after a sharp turn. Did warn about that last time already, but whenever you get no guide rails after a sharp turn, that can actually be a pretty tricky turn. Computer players don't seem to mind it all that much. They're actually programmed in order to stay in the center of the track when it comes to their guidance. It's a pretty complicated technical story, but let's just say, unless the track starts doing really weird stuff, computer players are usually pretty easily able to handle stuff like this. Not so much me. Don't forget, I'm not used to these tracks. Before today, I've never even seen this track before, so... It's not like I knew that was coming. Yeah, after the first lap I should have known, but who says I'm paying attention here? I'm telling a story, so... I'm distracting myself way too much. When I'm able to drive fully on autopilot, that does not matter a whole lot. But here on the X-Cup, autopilot actually functions a little bit differently. Since I need to concentrate on the tracks a little bit, since I've never seen them before. Most of them, of course, aren't really that difficult. But that's no reason not to pay attention. Okay, this is the 5th one, so only one more after this. Oh, this one's awesome. Rainbow Road track, but also Rainbow Road music. Thank you, Nintendo. that I can appreciate. People just move away. I was about to say this is going to be an entire tunnel track. Apparently not. That's also something you do see a lot in the X Cup. Tracks that are actually fully tunneled. The tunnel starting right after the start, only disappearing after the pit area. But basically the finish stretch being the only part of the track that is not tunneled. Also interesting. Even though this is a pretty long one, it's not a fully tunneled track. Also something you could perhaps see later. So far this looks like to be a track where my rubber band drivers are once again going to be annoying. Although you usually don't have to fear them, especially here in the X Cup where the computers have special programming, of course. You will always see the moment the finish line comes near, these guys will suddenly fall back again. Sometimes even being passed by the regular computers again. Like I explained in the beginning of this project, that is a safety procedure. These guys are swarming around you like a mosquito, but in order to make sure they don't win from you in an unfair way, they always fall back the moment the finish approaches. Nope, this was another long one. But it does give away what is actually happening in the background. The moment we press the A button, that long loading time, or relatively long loading time, it does give away when the creation of the track actually happens on the background. And for that reason alone, I can understand why Nintendo is actually a fan of cartridges for this long. Because you can only dream of these kinds of loading times on discs. Even though this game officially also plays with a disc, of course. Because don't forget, the Nintendo 64 disc drive is not called disc drive for nothing. It also functions with a disc. Even though it is placed in a cartridge, it basically still is a disc. So the loading times of the F-Zero X expansion kit can sometimes be a little bit longer. But the basic game is played with a cartridge, and therefore having faster loading times. Also the whole reason why Nintendo, after the Wii U, starting with the Switch, returned to cartridges again. Even though they have less memory, loading times are a lot faster. You can imagine if something like this was programmed onto a disc, like with the PlayStation for instance, a similar console from the same era, same generation. But if you tried to create something like this on the PlayStation for instance, I can't imagine with the disc you would be able to actually render in these tracks this fast. So kudos on how Nintendo placed this on a cartridge. Definitely awesome. And this should be it. I count 6 tracks, so... Yeah, there we go. 6 tracks driven, and therefore X Cup completed on standard. Needed a lot of story time in order to fill up the time. Because computer-wise, this one was not all that interesting, of course. We did show off the skull in the meantime. A racer from hundreds of years ago, who was in a racing class similar to the F-Zero. Perhaps even the F1, you might say. F-Zero is supposed to take place in 2500, I'm pretty sure. 25th or 26th century, story-wise, so... The skull would be a racer from 22 something then. Because I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be 300 years old. Resurrected from the dead. The biggest racer of that time. Has proven also to be the biggest racer of this time now. Victory ceremony time. Silver Nielsen is on the podium. Biorex. Because I'm pretty sure he's the only rival I did not kill. But most importantly, the Sonic Phantom, driven by the Skull. I am the Supreme Champion. Okay, you come back from the dead, you win a Grand Prix, and that's all you can say? I think after all that time you should have come up with something better. But anyway, that was the first one. Let's quickly move on to the second one, because of course I'd like to combine the Expert X Cup with this episode as well. So we can immediately say we are back on schedule, if you know what I mean. Next new racer is going to be the Green Panther. And this guy's story I've basically already talked about, so I can actually skip out on that. But in case you've missed, he's actually a character attached to Samurai Goro. Samurai Goro used to be this guy's boss. He used to be in the gang led by Samurai Goro, but he was actually betrayed at some point. He took the fall on a crime by himself, and since then he actually swore revenge on Samurai Goro. And of course, as you can see to the left, he's going to be one of his rubber band rivals. And that's pretty predictable, seeing the story. So let's go see if we can actually find something interesting. Apparently that was 2 hits. I was aiming for Blood Falcon, but apparently I hit the second one. Not sure who that was. But okay, returning to that original story. I was trying to talk about something interesting. Therefore saying cylinder and pipe tracks. Those are basically the only type of X-Cup tracks you haven't seen yet. They can rarely appear, but usually it doesn't take too long for at least one of them to start appearing. You do have 4 chances, of course, and therefore a total of 24 chances if you count all of the tracks. At this moment I'm not too sure if I actually will go back into the X-Cup after the final difficulty. We haven't seen a pipe or cylinder track. Right now I'm just going to assume one of them is going to appear either now or in Master playthrough. But if it doesn't, I might actually decide to go back into the X-Cup quickly on my own time until one shows up, so I can actually show that off. But let's not assume the worst quite yet. Longer loading time, but still no cylinder or pipe. But those are easily recognized because, like I explained in the beginning of this episode, and also in the previous episode, pipes and cylinders always appear as a circle track. So if you take a look at the map and it's in the circle form, you already know it is going to be a pipe or a cylinder. Those are the easiest to recognize. And the half-pipe tracks you can actually always recognize by the fact that the pit area is connected to the start. Because as you can see here... Nope. Oops. Me in the camera always. But in a regular track, a regular X-Cup track, there's always a couple of points between the pit area and the start-finish. On a half-pipe track, that's actually not the case. So if you see the pit area directly connected to the start-finish, then you will already know this is a half-pipe track. You can kind of call that the half-pipe trick. A half-pipe trick in order to find out the half-pipe track. Now I'm meaning word puns. I should be racing more and less talking. The moment I start talking, weird stuff always comes out of my mouth. Here we go. Here's the second one. Nothing too spectacular about this one. Let's move on to number 3. Still more chances for pipes and cylinders. Fingers crossed. Oh, yeah, there we go. We see a circle shape on the map. And like I said, you know what time it is whenever that happens. This is going to be either a pipe or a cylinder. Oh yeah, and the pit area is also connected to the start-finish with pipes and cylinders. In case you misunderstood. It's not only with half-pipe tracks, but also with pipes and cylinders. But usually pipes and cylinders can already be recognized by the shape of the map. They are always in a circle shape. But whenever that's not the case, and you still see a pit area connected directly to the start-finish, then it is a half-pipe. Those are the ways of recognizing tracks in the X-Cup. Yeah, I've played it so many times throughout my years, I actually know all the tricks now, you might say. I don't think there's anything that could appear, in theory, that I've actually not seen in my life. It'd be nice if I actually kill Goro at some point. Because of the big vendetta that Antonio actually has, I feel kind of obligated to, now that I'm playing with him, to actually kill Goro at some point. However, apparently not going to happen in this track quite yet. It's pretty difficult to actually destroy machines in a pipe. It's It's pretty difficult actually getting next to people in the pipe if it isn't obvious. However, we are still not done yet. There's still a cylinder track that can appear. But for now, it seems our luck has run out. Perhaps another chance later. Goro. Oh, he also wants to kill me. However, you're not my only target. Also, I'd like to smash some rifles if you don't mind. Hey, rifle. What is it with me and Billy this playthrough? In all honesty, it's actually one of the characters I like the most in this game. But for some reason, Billy has become a target for me in this Let's Play. And now I just can't help doing it over and over again. Poor guy. Oh. The pit area is rather small in this track. Luckily, I'm already in the lead, so I don't really have to care about that too much. But I do remember in older days when I was not that great yet in this game, and also whenever playing on Master, which is of course a lot more difficult, whenever you're dealing with tracks that have a very short pit area, it's actually really difficult to win. Stupid wreckages on the track. I know it's my own fault, but still. But whenever you're dealing with fast computer players, most of all on Master of course, you actually need the boost in order to catch up with them. But if you don't have a way to actually heal that boost, then tracks could actually become troublesome to win. That is perhaps something we can talk about during the Master run of X-Cup. But whenever playing on Master, you definitely don't have a guarantee you're going to win in a simple way by just boosting over and over again, which is usually the way to actually catch up with the computer players, of course. But if you only have a limited number of boosts to begin with because of having a very short pit area, then you could get into trouble. Because unlike in later F-Zero games, most of all F-Zero GX, computer players actually don't waste any energy whenever boosting. I'm pretty sure that's something I did not address yet during this Let's Play, but computer players actually don't have an energy bar compared to ours. They actually don't waste any energy by boosting. In this game, they are actually always programmed to go at a set speed. Most of the time you'll actually see them going really fast without even boosting. Or not getting any extra speed whenever they are boosting. Because you do see them boosting occasionally, if you actually pay close attention to the computer players. But you will actually see it actually does nothing for them. In gaining speed they can also do without boosting, so boosting is just an aesthetic thing for computer players. And it also does not cost them any energy. That can easily be shown off by just knocking a computer player to near death, where they are actually blinking, you might say, almost out of energy, and then they are still able to boost multiple times. So long story short, whenever you're dealing with a track that actually has a very short pit area, you are the only one on the track that is actually affected by it. It looks like this half-pipe is also not going to be a problem. Goro in second place. Billy's redeeming himself a little bit. But Goro, I still like to get you, sir. Still one more chance to actually do that. And it's not a cylinder, so we're going to have to wait until Master, hopefully, in order to see that. One thing I do like to do, I've been promising this, but so far he has been eluding me. Antonio's vengeance on Goro, at last. There you go. That's what you get for betraying me, Goro. Yeah, unwritten rule in F-Zero, whenever racing with Antonio Guster, you have to kill Goro at least once during the Grand Prix. Poor guy. But he's one of the bad guys in the game after all, so he deserves to be destroyed. Let's just finish off this Grand Prix and therefore this episode. Hi Billy. You're allowed to live. I've killed you enough times already during the Let's Play. Not sure why Treecks is actually one of Antonio's rubber band rivals. The starting number is 27 and mine is 17. So they both end with a 7, you might say. But I can't really think of a connection story-wise between the two. Treecks is a character we're going to see during Master, so don't really have to explain his story yet. There's especially since the character he's related to the most is also a character we haven't played yet, so that's Roger Buster. So more about those two later. For now, not really sure why Drek is actually the second rubber band rifle for Antonio. Perhaps because it's also a green machine. It's the only thing I can think of now. But anyway, we have finished another Grand Prix and therefore are back on schedule when it comes to completing the cups. This X Cup came in between, you might say. So we actually had to take care of this one first. But with this one now also completed on Expert, we can continue on our schedule. Therefore saying moving on to the DD Cups on Expert. Because of all this in-between business, it has been a while since we've actually seen them. So they might feel a little bit refreshing after all of this. After 3 X Cups in a row, we now know how it works and what the gist is. New tracks get generated every single time you play. Interesting. But also the regular cups need to be completed at some point. So next time we are going to continue with that. And this has been the X Cup trilogy in part 16 and 17. Drek on the podium in this beautiful Mighty Typhoon. Mechanic Dr. Clash. And Antonio Guster, who has been successful in getting revenge on Goro. He's not on the podium. Did you see it, Goro? Did you see my power? Yeah, I think he noticed in the last race. But Goro is a story for later. Next time, we're going to return to the DD Cups. Also clearing those on Expert. See you folks then. And Treecks out.